YouTube taking its time. There we are. We're live. It's Monday night, and it's live from Okeechobee. All right. Yes, I know it's being live streamed. And let's see if I can get it to show me the live on my own channel. There we go. Look. One person. Let me give myself a thumbs up while I'm thinking about it. Good evening, everyone. Squeaky chair in the house. I am, well, hello, Lori. How are you? I am showing off my new shirt tonight. What you think? It's actually a new dress I made from some fabric that I had floating around down here. Well, Lori and Sherlock. Ooh, I'd be honored. Now, I do have two cameras set up tonight, but what I did was instead of bringing them both into Zoom, so you had to look at them both all the time, I've got them set so I can go back and forth between the two if I want to. Excuse me. And it just had Din Din a few minutes ago, so I'm really just finishing up my dinner. Red polka dots, they clash with my shirt really bad. Thank you. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. And I have a bunch of fabric in here because I wasn't sure what I wanted to use tonight for these. Look at it, those blocks that I made for from Sylvia's pattern. Not for Sylvia, she made them for us. And I did not do well with the French paper piecing, foundation paper piecing. Say that 3 times fast. Hello, Colleen. You're having dinner? Yeah, appreciate that. This is the fabric I was about if I should make a shirt or a shirt and pants. So I decided to go ahead and just make a dress. My ear itches because I'm live, of course. But it's right ear this time. So that means somebody's talking good about me instead of the left ear like it was earlier, which means somebody's talking bad about you. I don't care. If they talk bad about me, they're leaving somebody else alone, right? Tracy in the house. So I just turned on show them on again. I haven't squared them. I've just made them. Yeah. The gang's all here. Well, not all, but some of them are. I know Sylvia's asleep. It's midnight. She's a snoring, I hope. And Lynn Bylas, the same thing. She's asleep. But hi, ladies. Hopefully you'll see me on replay. And I know my room is a wreck behind me. I have strategically placed my body so you can't see most of it, I hope. A little heat love on iron blocks usually makes them behave a little better. And starch that I just put on them probably helps even more. Ironing away. I need my pearls and my heels on so I can be June Cleaver, right? She has 3. Oh, you've got me in stereo. Stereo, I can never say that word. Okay, so here is, let's see. Let's start with the original. Here is Sylvia's block. And I'm not going to get it too close because, you know, I don't want to give her pattern away for free on my video. And here's what I did to it. My room looks like a wreck. It looks like I've been working in it because I have been. I was supposed to put 2 greens across from each other. And this one of these blues was supposed to be a red. and I messed it up big time. So I sat down and I thought about it for a while, and I drew out what it was supposed to look like. And then I figured out sizing. And so here's my little block. So this is what I came up with after drawing out the pattern. And here is Sylvia's. So mine comes out a little bit smaller, but I think it's close enough for government work. And I have to give kudos to Sylvia here, because when I was trying to figure out how to do the little corners right here at the corner of this block in the center, I was like, do I have to make an hourglass and cut it? And she's like, no, make HSTs and cut those. And I was like, duh, which way did he go? So I felt really dumb there. So if you want a picture, oh, I messed up the piecing and the colors. Yeah, it's very scrappy. So if you want my fantasy, I don't know what else to call this, of what I put together, there it is. If you want to copy it off the screen and you can read my chicken scratch, that's what I did. So I've got some fabrics down here on the table in front of me, and I don't know which ones, if any, I'm going to use to make this, but I'm going to try. Yeah, I messed up the colors bad, really bad. So it's like, okay. And I've been ironing and starching fabric. And then when I went and grabbed the Lotus blocks from the other room, I said, oh, I should bring the fabrics that I originally was going to use in these blocks with me. And I don't have to iron all of them. Hi, Math Geek. How are you? Yeah, I'm usually on way too early for you, huh? And I got to tell you guys, Colleen is very gracious, because I overslept this morning and missed her live completely. Yet she's still here being my mod. Thank you, Colleen. I appreciate it. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, I find this hilarious. Colleen decided she was going to beat Mr. Happy up tonight, and she made a quick short of Mr. Happy. She was joking around. Mr. Happy has now 1,300 views, Colleen, and 4 subscribers so far. Yeah. I keep telling her, I know he's irritating. I know I can't draw, but I tell you what, people love Mr. Happy. I don't know why. I don't get it, but they do. Yes, you are. But yeah, people love Mr. Happy. Yes, he sent her a pizza. In my description box for all my long videos, there's a link to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And I want to remind you guys that it's there. And what brought this up is I got a message a couple of days ago about a friend of mine, and somebody was telling me that she left her husband, and oh my gosh, isn't that a huge shock? And why would she do that? Da 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 da. And my answer to the person who sent me the message was, we don't know what happened between that man and woman in their house. And I always had some concerns about this person, because it seemed like their husband was really controlling, but I see red flags sometimes when they aren't there. And now that things are starting to come out, it appears that that is exactly what was happening, that she was being at least verbally abused, if not physically. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that that link is in my description box. You can Google it. You can call 211. I'm sure if you called the operator and said, I need to know who to talk to, they could get you the number. But if you're in a situation where you don't feel safe, please pick up the phone and call somebody. Don't, at least this lady was smart enough to leave. But don't let yourself be in a situation where you're getting hurt, and don't worry about other people's opinions when it comes right down to it. If you need to get out, just go ahead and get out. Okay, so my soapbox, I'm off now. Sorry. But I know that some people do watch my videos that are possibly in that situation. Not you, Coley. I wanted to make sure that I reiterated that that's out there for you, because some people don't know where to go to get the information, and some people don't have the ability to go look the information up because someone's always watching them. So, if they ignore you whenever you're on a quilty chat, maybe you just got some information that might help you. Okay, so yeah, I don't like blue hearts. It's not frozen pizza. It's not frozen pizza. Yeah, Math Geek, I feel pretty strongly about that one because my mom was really good at picking bad men. Usually people who end up in that relationship over and over, there's something that they like in that particular kind of relationship. So I like to, pass that information along somewhat often. Okay. Now, I'm going to switch you guys down here to, and I don't have to move a camera. I just have to change it on the computer. So the preaching's over, and let's change cameras here. And let me make sure that that goes right where I want it. Not quite. I am going to have to move you for a second. So let me switch. There's only one way to do this. Sorry, guys. Okay. Oops. I think I have to move some things around, but it's not stuff on your side, it's on mine. So I have my little practice doily from the other day up under there. I want to get this where you guys can see it. My drinky poo can go elsewhere. Over there. All right. So, and what I want you guys to be able to see is my pattern. I hope. Maybe not. But what I'm doing is I'm cutting the pieces for this block. Oh, I appreciate that, Lori. Thank you so much. I'm always, I have a soft spot for people who are in that situation. When I lived in Oklahoma City, I worked with pregnant teenage girls. And it was, a lot of times those girls were pregnant because they were looking for someone who would love them. You know what I mean? Let's see. On my pattern is the blank spots. They don't have anything written in them. And I need well, I need 1.5 inch strip first. And I'm going to cut that first. And I'm using my ruler to measure that for me. I'm not using the mat to do it. And then make sure there's no selvage on that. And then I need 4 1.5 by 1.5 inch blocks. So I'm going to square that up at this end. Take that little out of there. Oh, it's a great time. Right. And Tracy, a lot of people don't realize, "Oh, he's never hit me." Well, yeah, but you know, cutting you off from your family and friends and not allowing you to leave the house, or you're only allowed to go to the grocery store and you've got 30 minutes to get there and back and that kind of stuff. That's all abuse. And alienating you from your own kids. That's another one. I think that may be what was happening to my friend. And I swear I can't tell which piece of that's the right side and which side's the wrong side. Now that one's the right side, so that one's the right side. So that's 4 1.5 inch squares. And then I'm going to do, I need 4 3-inch by 1.5 inch pieces. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up the 3-inch mark at the end here. And then I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to do it again, because this is the fastest way, in my opinion, to get these pieces. And Tracy, it is really hard for people sometimes to realize that is that they're in a bad situation, because denial, it's not just a river in Egypt. You know, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm fine, everything's fine. He doesn't hit me, he doesn't beat the kids, blah, blah, blah." That doesn't mean he's not abusing you. And if you're fine with the situation, you're fine with the situation. I'm not going into anybody else's house and telling them, "Oh, your husband's abusing you." That's not going to happen. But, you know, if you see something, say something. You know, don't leave your friends hanging out there. If you realize something really bad is going on, say something. Yeah, Tracy, that's narcissistic abuse, and I've been looking at that a whole lot lately, because I'm an empathetic person, and I've been targeted by narcissists a few times. My mother was one, and I'm like, how do I break this little cycle? Wayne is not a narcissist by any means, but the person I was with before him was, oh, let's just say that it was probably a good thing that Wayne picked me instead of me picking him. Okay, so that's all my background fabric. I have a 3-inch by 3-inch piece. I have 4 1.5 inch squares. I'm trying to make sure I put these over here where you guys can see them. And then I have 4 3-inch long by 1.5 inch pieces. Oh yeah, Colleen, they do. And I'm quite certain that the commentary that I got via Gmail the other day from the gal was from someone that he convinced, you know, that his wife is crazy because she left him and he's such a great guy and all this. And that's something else that they do, is they turn everybody against you and make them believe that you're the crazy one. I don't think my friend is crazy, but I think she's probably had enough. Okay, now this is a 2.5 inch strip, and I'm going to use it for my color C. And what I need from this is 3 2.5 inch squares. So I know that my strip is 2.5. I can measure it right here with my ruler. And then I'm going to cut my first 2. And these are going to be used to make half square triangles. So it's not as important that they are absolutely square would be if they were the centerpiece. And now I got to unfold the fabric. Is this angle working okay for everybody? inch squares, and I used that pretty blue. And then I ironed up a bunch of other stuff here before we started. Let's see. I need a red. And for the red, I need 3 2.5 inch squares again. That's long enough, so I'm going to cut 2.5 inch square there. And the first thing I'm doing is just cutting off the piece of fabric. Yeah, and you learn a lot from that, Tracy, but if you're not careful, and I know why a lot of us are like, I am not having another relationship, I'm not doing this again. Why women get to the point that they just say, nope, no more. It's because you don't trust yourself not to pick another abusive person. My husband's wandering around. He's knee deep in programming something huge for work. So poor Wayne is just, I'm just trying to stay out of his way this week. And you guys can see tape on my little ruler. I have it there because I was using this to square up HSTs a while back. Whoops, don't drop it. And then let's see, 2.5. That other piece isn't going to be long enough. I'm going to have to cut another piece off. Doggone it, man. There's the scrap pile. Let's see if I can do this without having to cut up the whole thing. I'm doing a cheater's cut. If you're a beginner, don't try this. And I'm sure we've all done it before. What I'm doing is I've put my 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch on here. And then the benefits of a small space is that everything's right here. The bad part about a small space is everything's right here. Okay, so now I've cut my 3A fabrics, and that is 3 2.5 inch squares of the red. So the red can go away. Let's see, I've got my A, my C, I need a green, and luckily I brought green in here today. For the green, I only need 4 1.5 inch squares. Is that right? Yep, that is right. Okay. All right, I guess that's a little one then. We'll just get a 1.5 inch over here. And Lori, I appreciate that your son is going to pass that along. Sometimes that is the most vulnerable population, though, is the younger people, because they don't know that there's resources and they don't have the life experience to say, nope, I'm not tolerating this. So that's a big thing. You know, eventually you realize that people will only push you as far as you let them, and you have to decide what the end of that is. But the younger you are, I think the harder it is to figure that out, or to feel like you've got the right to ask that. You know, you're not allowed to talk to me like that. I'm not going to tolerate that behavior, whatever it may be. Okay, so now we have 4 1.5 inch squares of green. And that's our B. And then I need one more color. I have orange written on here as a D. And it needs to be a 2.5 inch square. So I have my pick here. I could do this gold color here. I could pull a 2.5 inch square out of this scrappy stuff. That may be what I do. Because I kind of want the contrast here. Good for your sister, Tracy. Yeah, there's a point in time everybody hits that this is it, whether it's because they're messing with your kids or your family or you. Yeah, it reminds me of Minnie Mouse too. So there's going to be our centerpiece. So this is, I'll give you a rough idea of what it's going to look like, just so we're all kind of on the same page. And then you guys can tell me if you don't like any of my color choices. Let's see. A is the red. It's going to go here and here. And of course, this is nowhere close to finished. But what do you guys think of that color combination? So I do something brighter, crazier, darker. And there's going to be white in there, of course, all scattered in with that. So I think it'll look pretty good together. All right, so now we're going to get all the fabric that's excess over out of the way, because I can tell y'all from experience that I will sew something in there that doesn't belong. What happened on the other block from Sylvia. Colleen likes them. Sherlock likes them. Okay. So the next step, this is where my brain has to work. The next step is to take, I'm gonna separate my piles again. I need to take the 4 1-inch green blocks and I need to sew them to the 4 or 1.5-inch green blocks. And I need to sew them to the 4 1.5-inch white blocks. So we're going to angle you up. Wee for Sherlock. See, I told you my room's still a wreck, guys. Nobody can say it's not. But I'm going to do these 4. I would like that somewhere in the same room. Wow. Anybody else do that? When you sew, you push your foot pedal as far away from you as it'll go. I do that all the time. That's Sylvia's cheat sheet. Okay, 2. I'm going to bring the phone around here so I can see the chat at least a little bit. And it doesn't matter which side you sew these little blocks on because they're squares. I know most of you probably know that, but I'm talking to the beginners who are going to watch the replay, we hope. Or to anybody who's new to sewing. And to me, it's easier. Some people, it's easier to do the light things first. Like all the 1-inch squares get done. And then we do the half square triangle, this, that, and the other. There is a cutter on your machine over to the side here that you can use. I have my little blade cutter down here. Whichever works for you is what you should use, whatever you're more comfortable with. And then this is not fun. Okay, let me do this up here. I'm going to finger press these little blocks open. If I can get my fingers to do anything today, I'm going to finger press the blocks open. to the dark side. And I'm doing this as regular piecing, not as FPP. Those foot pedals run at times, yeah. This is true, Colleen. Sorry, guys, the fingers aren't cooperating very well. So it's taking me a second. Always have to try to keep up with the chat and have something else going on. So you're not bored to death going, good Lord, can't she even unfold that by herself? Okay, now where these are going to go back in the block is up here at the corners, and you can't see that. The green part goes to the inside. So what I'm doing is I'm laying my pieces back down where they go in the block, because one of the errors that I caught myself making was that I sewed my next white piece on top of the wrong direction. So I'm going to lay my white pieces in here also, and I'm going to give you guys a peek at that, because this is not, you know, listen to me a vision and not see a vision. Okay, and the way I want this to lay out is here and then here. So when I pick these up, I want to pick up this one and attach it to here. And I know that my white piece is longer than my sewn up piece. I'm not attempting to make them match. I gave myself the extra room as wiggle room. Okay, so back to the sewing machine, so you guys can see some action and not just stare at what's on that table. And I'm going to sew this one. And you guys, I am doing this and putting it back. So I'm wasting thread. I cannot chain piece on this one because my brain won't work with that. Not today. And it didn't when I did this the other day, even when I created my version of Sylvia's block. So here's that corner. It goes right back down. And then I'm going to pick the next piece up and I'm going to put it together so that one end is matched up. And I'm keeping my fingers to the side that I know I need to sew. And you'll notice I've turned it around. These are all things I do so my brain doesn't get mixed up. I think I'm a decent teacher. I'm not great, but for me to remember to you guys everything that I want to tell you, I sometimes have to just literally demonstrate it, because then I remember to tell you. Now here's my block. This is the way it goes, and I'm going to set it right back down in there. I know this seems dumb. This seems slow. 2 coffee cups. Oh, Lord, that's not good. So see, what I could have done was just gone ahead and run these all up and down and around the corner. And then I'd be ripping blocks out because I wouldn't have them all going the right way. So for me, it's easier to lay it down on the block or back, you know, on my table where it belongs and then put it together. I don't have that spatial thing. You know, not everybody here is from the US, but when I was in high school, we took a test called the ASVAB, which, if I remember right, stands for Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, something like that. And it was designed to see what you're good at. And I did really well on the part where you got to use your brain, but the part that required muscle memory wasn't so great. Like, I don't understand, would they break boxes down into pieces like they're exploded and you have to put them together? That doesn't make any sense to me. Therefore, one of the skills that I've tried to build since I was, high school, because I'm a ways past that now, is the ability to look at a pattern or a box and figure out how it goes together. And what I know is a learned skill, but it comes out in things like making the baskets and stuff. A lot of times I have to message Colleen and say, hey, yeah, oh yeah, makes it a whole lot easier to put them back as you sew. Okay, and now I have this, and I have one blue left over. And I'm going to take the red and the blue that I have left over, and I'm going to mark it, but I'm only going to mark it. I think I needed one more of these. But I'm only going to mark it because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to make a half square triangle out of this. So I'm going to put a mark. Hello. How are you, Irish sail lady? She lives on a boat and sews. And I assume she's Irish as well. So, she can pick on my accent. Yeah, for me, the only way to put them back is the only way to keep track on, and this isn't even really a super complicated block. The only way for me to keep track is to put them back as I go. And the only time I can get away with doing that is on little HSTs. Where you flip it around with your thread still attached. And I don't know why that makes me so happy to do, but I like doing it. And we have our good scissors here tonight, so Lori doesn't have to cry. Because when I use my regular scissors that are hard, it makes Lori upset for me. And I was so happy about flipping that around. I shouldn't have been, right? Okay, and then what I need to do and I need to cut them in half this way because these are going to snowball the corners of that middle block. So I'm going to lay them down so that they are upside down. And Irish Sail Lady, I am recreating the Lotus block, but I'm doing it with piecing instead of FPP. And this is only the second time I've done it. So I'm showing everybody, but I'm showing them how my brain works at the same time. All right, so that's cut. But I'm working in a tiny space, so it's like, ah. Okay, so now that we have those 4 half square triangles, they are too big. I don't care. I cannot make a smaller half square triangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line them up. Here's the center of my half square triangle. I'm going to line it up with the center. And I don't want it to go all the way to that edge there. I don't want it to be halfway down. I just want it to be almost halfway. So I'm going to sew it in here, and then I'm going to cut off the back piece and turn it over. I will show you what that means. And if you are more clever than me, You can absolutely and totally make an HST that is the right size, but I'm not that clever. So see what I've done here is I've snowballed my corner with that HST. And then, where's that? I want to take off that extra there. Now the order of the half square triangles matters. And I have, make sure I'm doing this right. C is the blue and the red. Okay, so on my pattern, I have A and C because I want A to match up with the A and C to match up with the C. Red is my A fabric. So I need to make sure the next half square triangle I put on here, that when it turns over to show this way, that it's got red with the red. Does that make sense? Because the way this is going to lay on here is it is going to be, so the red and the red meet the red up here. I'm trying to make sure I'm in camera for this. So let me sew it on and then I'll show you what I mean. On the first one, you can do whichever one you want first, but then after that, you have to use your brain power. And that's in short supply around here sometimes. And since Irish Sale Lady came in, I'm thinking about mom and pop. I envy mom that table she uses and their camera setup. Not to the point of, jealousy, but I really like how they do that. Okay, so on my pattern, it tells me that the next fabric I want here is blue or C. And I can tell that once I get my brain straight around the idea that I want the blue and the blue on the same corner. So I'm gonna lay that out. I'm gonna put it down so my blue's on that corner. So it's lined up to the middle. And this is the long way to go to get this, but it's still easier for me than the FPP. And guys, I did ask Sylvia before I decided I was gonna rework this pattern or show it. And she told me to have it. And I know some of you, Colleen and Tracy, are getting the FPP thing. It still doesn't make much sense to me. All right. And so this one should go exactly the way I want it to go, which is red touching red, blue touching blue. Line it up with the corner and put it on there. This is the hardest, most fiddly part of doing the block this way. In my opinion. I think I have to add that to everything. Let's just put it out there. If I say it, I'm automatically adding in my opinion after it. Yeah, I'll get it eventually. Hello, Stephanie. How are you tonight? All right. Is my iron still warm enough to press that? It probably is. All right. So I'm going to give it a quick iron down and move my scraps out of the way. Sliding things over. Another use for your ironing board in your sewing room. It holds junk when you need it moved out of your way. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over real fast And I still have the edges of my block. So I'm just going to square all this up to the edges of my block for my 2.5-inch block. And then maybe now you'll get why I did such a fiddly way to get those HSTs on there. It's because this is what you need for the center. See how small those little corner pieces are? That's what you need. And I was just like, how do I get there? So this is how I got there. If you have an easier way, I am more than willing because we still have the next part's pretty easy. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put, and I do need one more piece of background fabric, but I'm going to cut this in half. Do I need one or do I need two? Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Need one more. So all I'm doing here is I am cutting my three-inch piece of background fabric into 3 pieces. And then I'm going to snowball these corners, and I'm just laying it on here so you can see it. I'm checking time here. So I'm going to snowball my corners. So each of the top corners, lay that the right direction, Melissa. Told you I have to think too hard. So I'm laying that on top of the corners, back down here a little bit. And I'm going to put white corners on each of these 4 pieces. Easy, simple. And then we'll put the whole block together. Is everybody still with me? Want me to keep going? Because I'm like, ooh. And I'm not, I don't want anybody getting lost while I'm explaining this. There was another little piece of that in there. So I need another 3-inch piece. And again, these measurements don't have to be exact for the background, because a lot of that background is getting cut away. But I did make my pieces bigger, so I had room to square them down. I don't know who says it, but there is a, oh, Beth says it. I'd rather square down than try to add fabric to it. That's at my quilt room or my sewing room. The one who inspired my Scotty Dog quilt. Guys, I was gonna do in the hoop embroidery on it tonight, but when I tried to put it together, you're drawing pictures for yourself as I talk. Did you see this earlier, Math Geek? Let's see if I can get it all in there. I can put a picture of this in my community tab also. This is my pattern. I hate to call it a pattern because it's not. It's just, that's how I mentally figured it out for me, was I drew it out and I drew out what the block was supposed to look like from Sylvia. And then I put measurements on it to try to get it to the size I wanted, because I don't know how else to draft a pattern except to literally draw it the way it's supposed to look. And then I work backwards from there. I'm like, okay, so you got to have this piece, so now you need that and this and the other to get it all the right size. And when I was drafting up measurements, I went bigger than I thought I needed because it's easier. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely will post it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each of these 4 pieces, and I want this snowballed at the side. So the right side up, I'm going to set this piece on there, and then I'm just going to flip it over. And for myself, I want to make sure that the edges are perpendicular here. So when I turn this over, I'm about halfway, and I'm making sure that my edges of my little snowball part are about halfway, and then I'm going to sew right across here. Do that for you. And again, you may do this completely differently than I do. This is how my brain works and how I get to where I want to be on this. So put that one down, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I know that I want this to sit like that, so I'm going to turn it. And now I'm kind of taking advantage of the fact that I have half of it already on, and I'm going to kind of line it up. The top can match if you want it to, but I don't want to go further down than about halfway because I want to make sure I get that petal effect. And then I squared these the other way around earlier. I took off my little back piece before I trimmed it. This time I'm going to trim it before I take off the back part. So I'm going to line my ruler up here. One good thing about it being a 2.5 inch block is that I can do both sides pretty quickly because my ruler is 2.5 inches wide. That's a bonus. And then we'll do this end, close my rotary cutter, and then I'm going to bring in my little pair of scissors, and I'm going to give myself about 1/4 inch. Now you can leave that there if you want. It adds a little bit of bulk, but you know, not everybody worries about that. And there's my little block all put together. And then when I do this part and I turn this properly, that's what it's going to look like. So you get that lotus petal. Yeah, I'm definitely a visual and do it learner. And I never knew that it was called experiential, but yes, that is exactly what I am. I have to, my hands have to be in it. I have to do it in order to get it. So yeah, I understand completely. And that's why, you know, when my Lotus block using it, I went, I don't get this. This doesn't make any sense. So that's why I went and I did this. And here's my blue, here's my red. This is how it comes out. And you can see there's the edges. This is what it'll look like when I'm completely done. But this was the part that gave me the biggest problem. And you can see on there, I did not cut those back pieces off on that one. So it's a little thicker right there. So there's a little bit of bulk. So let me do this. And I don't know if anybody cares what color thread I got in my machine tonight, but it is a light purple. and it's Aurifil. And we were talking last week on somebody's, I think it might have been at Mom and Pop's, about machines liking this or not liking that. Well, my machine ordinarily doesn't like Aurifil, and my Juki for sure doesn't like Aurifil. So I'm absolutely shocked that the Jazz is taking it and using it. And I have it both. Don't you act up on me because I said something nice about you. I have it in both the bobbin and as the thread on top, and it's actually working. All right, so, and take my little ruler, line it up with all my sides. I may be able to do this in one cut. If I could do it without cutting my hand. Since it's a little bitty shortcut, I'll risk it. If it was a longer one, I wouldn't, because I am the one. And it didn't cut all the way, so that doesn't work, Melissa. Try something else. I think I'm channeling Tracy right there. She does that. All right, so here's the second one. There was a problem with the server. What is the problem with the server? Seems to be working. So now I'm cutting off that little piece on the back. Putting that one in. And I need to do that 2 more times. Now, guys, I've been on almost an hour. I usually cut off at an hour. Do you want me to finish those last 2 and put the block together? Or do you just want me to put a picture up on the community tab once it's all done? I can do it either way. I know Math Geek says she's a visual learner like I am. So I'm more than happy to stay and do that till the block's finished. Shouldn't take too much longer. Another 10 minutes maybe. Because we did the hardest part, and that was that HST matchup part. I guess this is really a hard block. It's maybe advanced beginner. That's about all I am, is an advanced beginner. Yes, finish. Tracy, I know that you would have me stay on for a week. I can't do that. But I can stay to finish this. That's fine. I always feel like I was left hanging. The movie didn't finish. If I, okay, I'm going to come back later and do this. But then again, I know people have lives too. I know Monday's kind of slow, so that's a good thing. All right. And I'm turning it. Can you guys still see what I'm doing? Good. Okay. One of these Hue cameras that I'm using has a tendency to slide down, and it also has a tendency to go into rainbow mode, I think is what Tracy calls it. Okay. And this is why I keep putting everything back where it goes. Because the closer we get to the end, the more little pieces you've got. And that can get confusing. And then it to be able to film and iron and cut and everything. I just do that wonky. That's okay. We'll do this wonky. We'll fix it. They're squares. I can fix this. Anybody else watch the Bionic Man and the Bionic Woman as kids? Or is everybody here too young? Except me. I heard some guys talking, hello, Mr. Worldwide. How are you tonight? What does that, I mean, are you a YouTuber or is that just your, yeah, Power Rangers, but it's like a nostalgia thing. And I'm like, what's is it nostalgia over Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers? Yeah, Lee Majors was amazing. Well, we're finishing up a block. Are you a quilter or a sewer? You're more than welcome, even if you're not, as long as you're nice. But I always ask because you never can tell. We've got a guy who does over the road driving, and he quilts on his downtime. He actually has I think is Mike Thayer. He has a sewing machine in his rig, right, Tracy? Or does he just sew at home and does all his planning out? Oh, I loved Wonder Woman and Isis. Oh yeah, I wanted to be Isis. Be able to make the world do what you want, you know, nature. I didn't like Fall Guy. I think because I didn't like Heather Locklear. Something about her when I was a kid just made me go, eh. She was a mean girl, or she seemed like it. She might not have been. She might have been a really nice lady. I don't know. Is Heather Locklear still alive? I don't remember her sidekick. All right. So we have everything laid out here. Here's our block. And now I'm going to sew this block together. Normally when I sew blocks together, moving the camera a little bit, I start here and go down and then go across. I think I'm going to do this one in rows. That didn't work so well for me doing the column thing the other night. So I'm going to do rows and I'm just going to put them together here. And I'm going to do row 1, row 2, row 3. Let's give you guys a view of the sewing machine instead of the floor. About what word? I don't know what word that was. Did it block a comment because of a word? Because it didn't like, I think it was poo the other day. Somebody said in the chat. And it wasn't said in any kind of derogatory way. It was just a nightbot leader. It got Lynn Bylis. Guys, y'all ever seen Lynn Bylis do anything wrong? I was like, really? Thankfully, Lynn had a sense of humor. I was like, what are you doing, YouTube? Or I think it was the bot that got her and not YouTube. Isis? Oh, I don't know. You cross stitch? Oh, none of us are professionals, Mr. Worldwide. If we were pros, we wouldn't be on YouTube. Tracy might qualify as a professional cross stitcher. But I have a friend named Arthur who's decided that I'm no longer allowed to cross stitch. You know, arthritis. He doesn't like me hand sewing anything anymore. So I don't hand sew. I don't cross stitch. All right, so that's looking pretty good. That's the first section. Yeah, I remember my grandmother or my granny talking about Arthur like he was a real person. And when I was a kid, I thought that is so bizarre. But now that I'm older and Arthur is, here to stay, has moved in, I kind of understand why she talked about Arthur like he was real, because he is. And I'm not cleaning quite as well as I go this time, guys. I'm just sewing things together. But you can see how that gives you that little lotus blossom effect. Let me get the blue over here. You can't rethread your sewing machine. Oh, cool, Stephanie. What are you cross stitching? What pattern? I have magnifying glasses, and I have tweezers, and I have auto threaders, and sometimes I still spend lots of time threading my machine. I don't know if you're a shorts watcher, but I actually put it on a short because I was trying to record a video about threading this machine, and it was like 6 tries before I got it threaded. We're on the 3rd row, so we're in the home stretch, folks. Almost there. I want to keep that red turned towards the red because I don't want that showing behind the white. By the time you get down to piecing your blocks, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of like, I want the stuff to lay where I want it to lay, but if it doesn't, I just say, well, let's go on. And then here's a spot where I have to watch myself because I want to make sure that that green stays up towards the top on this block. And Math Geek, yes, I will put that on the community tab. It will be exactly as it looks right now. There's probably even a coffee stain on there. But I will put it in there because I'm like you. I need the visual. Or if there's something in writing I can get my hands on, I'm like, yep, I'll take it. All right. Almost completely done. So there's our block. So far, I hear feet outside my door. Do you need me? Oh, okay. He's been buried under work today, so wasn't sure if he needed me for something or what. Or even where we live, so. And I'm not penning, but I am using my fingers to hold everything right where I want it. I could do that even when I can't manage the pens usually. So one more seam and then I will show it to you. I'll grab that ironing mat again and try to give it a quick press so you can see. And I think this one might be more visible as far as how this goes together because I used a white background instead of a light blue one. And I can tell you right now that Sylvia and Tracy are both going, it's easier to do it the FPP way. And I can also tell you that I think it's still easier to do it the piece way. All right, so let's take that thread off of there. Bring this back over because we don't want to iron right on our mat. Well, hello, Stephanie. How are you tonight? I'm just finishing up my butcher of Sylvia's Lotus block. I'm trying to bring this to where it can be seen. And I sprayed all this fabric before I started, but I'm going to give it a liberal spray of starch. And I'm going to come over here and press. And I'm showing you the back side because I ain't shamed, even if they're not all going to see. Oh my gosh, Stephanie, you're hand sewing? There is a gentleman in the chat who is a cross stitcher. I'm going back because I want to see the rest. Ooh, Lisa Pay patterns, yes. Your grandparent passed away doing a huge fairy print, and you've made it your vow to finish it. That is awesome. Good morning, Janet. Oh, you need to use that Singer sewing machine. Okay, so here's the block. I'm gonna set it down here and give it just a, I'm not trimming it to any specific size here. I'm just trimming the edges so they match. So wherever it's the narrowest, I'm trimming the edge to. I don't think it does too bad. I mean, that's less than 1/4 of an inch, basically, except for right there. I think I boo-booed whenever I trimmed my little green block. So I'm going to lose the point on that corner. But come here, you silly thing. So there's my block. And there's the first one I made. I think the second one looks way better. Maybe looks like I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Maybe. Let's lay it the same direction so we have red from both. And then this is the block that I made from the FPP. And I certainly got things closer to the right place by doing it as a pieced block than I did by doing it as an FPP. And I have to confess, that was my second time doing that block as an FPP and messed it up twice. Mr. Worldwide, YouTube has videos for everything. And Stephanie, are you hand quilting a quilt? Yes, they do have thimbles. You're putting a sleeve on with hand stitching. You're going to win the show. That's not a problem. I know you've got that. So I hope you're entering. Is it Sewing Machines Plus that's got one going right now for another big machine? I think it's a millie this time. I think it's a millie this time. All right, I'm going to switch cameras. And I don't have to move the camera again. I just have to switch so that I can show you my beautiful face. See, there he is. Don't ever put your own talent down. There's a lot of people out there who wish they could do what you specifically can do, whoever you are. Not just you, Mr. Worldwide, but, you know, I want to say envious of the talent that some people have for long arming or for cross stitching. And I can name you people in this chat who are good at both. Some people are way better at foundation paper piecing than I am. I mean, we already know I'm not very good at it. Yeah, and like Colleen says, some people are naturals and some people have to really work at it. I am not a natural at being able to draw out patterns, but with lots and lots and lots of practice over the years, I've gotten better. I still don't know how to write an official pattern, but I do know how to, you know, write down what I want to see and then try to put that together. And I don't think I did too badly. I mean, it's not exactly the same as Sylvia's block, but it's pretty good, I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm going to put it up. You guys can do with it what you like. Just don't like reprint it and sell it, any of that. Copyright applies. But I'll put it up on my community tab so that those of you who want to download it can. And I am not giving away Sylvia's pattern. I'm putting up my drawing. So be aware of that. Sylvia's pattern is free through Thursday. If you go to her channel, You and Me FPP, you can get her email address and email her for patterns after Thursday, the 23rd of February, 2023. If it's after that date, then you'll need to email her. She will send you a PayPal invoice. You pay it, she'll send you the pattern. And support a small business. I mean, she's an older lady and she is making patterns and she's doing it out of the goodness of her heart. She is not a YouTube bigwig or anything. You know what? I say a similar thing to that a lot, Math Geek. I say that if somebody's looking at your work that closely, tell them to go home. And that brings me right into, we are at 15 minutes after, so I've been on more than an hour. I usually only run about an hour. 7 o'clock on Monday nights, Eastern Time, 2 p.m. on Thursdays, Eastern Time. Those are my times for my lives. If you have questions on anything, feel free to leave a comment down below this video. And if you haven't already, would you please give me a like on there, and feel free to subscribe or share my videos with your friends. I'd appreciate it. Oh yeah, Sylvia's FPP is fun, Math. It was fun. I'm not saying that it wasn't. This isn't my skill set. Sylvia's great at it. Colleen is good at it. Tracy's great at it. I'm not so good at it, but I can applique, and Colleen's learning applique, which is impressive as heck to me. So yeah, you guys all have a good night. I think Colleen, I have thread in my mouth. I think Colleen has put in everybody's links. I appreciate that. Stephanie Stitches, good luck on the quilt show. Win, so that's not a problem. And I appreciate everybody coming. Mr. Worldwide, you're welcome back next time we're live, which, like I said, Thursday at 2, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And y'all have a great night. Kindness is contagious. Be the light you hope to see in others. And if anybody's looking that close at your work, tell them to go home. Bye, guys.